Okay, okay, okay.
Okay.
Now it's recording, right? Okay. What you're thinking about electoral bond scam? Huh?
Yes. Arey, actually, I was kind of amazed by. So recently, I did not know this Chandrachud based, like ever since he became CJI, Chief
Hmm.
Justice,
Hmm.
the lot of things have been changed. Like, you
Uh,
get the like whatever cases are to be held every day, you can get that list in advance only.
hmm.
So, for example, whenever they put out in news now that this case is being fought, and like for example, recently there was one case where they were uh, like, what was the issue?
Regarding
Uh,
CA,
so
no?
there was no CA is fine.
Uh,
This is another issue. Freebies issue.
yeah, that
So
Tamil Nadu
during
73% under these kind of things, right? Like
exactly,
that.
exactly. So there is this one guy. He has been putting these PIL, public interest litigation.
Litigations, yeah.
So he has been filing these since 2016. So I found three documents. One is from 2016. That is not related to this freebie issue, but it is somewhat related to electoral policies. Then there
Hmm.
is this another issue, to 2022 issue, that is related to the freebie scheme, the one that
Hmm.
you talked about.
Hmm.
So basically, what they do is they file. So for PILs, the petition is usually, so like this thing is hampering. Uh, this is hampering the, like, mm, whatever. So like PIL is usually, it's like one general issue, and for that they use four or five cases in backup, and they
Uh,
point out that the same thing is being violated
we
here, here, here
violated
also.
multiple times, so we can take it as a
Yeah.
sumoto rather than
Uh,
someone giving it as a complaint. Yeah,
yes.
like that. I have heard that Chandrachud's son talking about
Abhinav.
CA. Abhinav
CA,
Chandrachud, yeah.
yes, I saw his video.
Was 2020
Yes.
something like that. Like, what do you think of?
Uh,
What do you think of like his points? Some points he raised it. Like what do you think of that? Like for example, he raised it like telling why Jews are not given, like atheists are not given
true,
citizenship like
true,
that.
true, true.
Like how can a government discriminate citizenship on the basis of religion? What do you, just give me your opinion. Like I'll pick up after that.
See, I think the issue is based on the Amendment Act, right?
Uh,
2019.
like when
So,
you give a citizenship to someone, you cannot like discriminate based on religion.
the idea behind it. So I read the document.
Hmm.
The thing is, they write names of all the religions except Muslim, right? And at first glance, it sounds like, okay, it is headed for controversy, like
Hmm.
deliberately
Hmm.
omitting that name,
Hmm.
because otherwise, usually what you can do is you can simply write persecuted minorities, and
Hmm.
then when it comes to executing the policy, because recently they put out the, like, documentation on how you can achieve citizenship status,
Hmm.
like basically forms that you have to fill up and all.
Hmm.
So my thing is, if you want to do that, you could have simply, put that point here instead
Hmm.
of putting it in the bill itself.
Yeah.
So that is the concern, but I think the reason they're quoting is they want to prevent like minorities from being persecuted,
Hmm.
and the idea being that these people uh, originally are from India. So
Uh,
like these religions that,
they associate
despite,
themselves with India at least.
yes, which is fine. Like it's interest of the country. I think it makes sense that way. But yeah, again, but like if you state that there is the in the constitution you state that India is a secular country, then again, obviously, laws like this are against secularism.
No,
So it
I
is
have
a
one
debate.
problem with that. Like, see, in general principle, citizens are just like assets of a state
Hmm.
because they are like it's a reciprocity. So states will allow rights to the citizens,
Hmm.
but they don't guarantee any rights to non-citizens. Let's
True.
say country A and country B, and
True.
person from
True. True.
country A kills a person from country B.
Hmm.
Country A cannot classify that as murder,
Hmm.
and he cannot prosecute person A,
True. True.
the
True.
person from country A, because it doesn't
Hmm.
come under their jurisdictions.
Hmm.
Similarly, people outside India will not come under Indian jurisdictions in the first place. So,
Mm.
any constitutional body cannot comment on it. It only
Mm.
all the constitutional body like Supreme Court or these things like these institute, they cannot uh, what you call can comment anything on that because it's not in their power. The only body
Mm.
that can comment on that is legislative body because they are making the laws. Once they are
Mm.
into the country, you cannot discriminate. Once they are given citizenship, then you cannot discriminate.
Mm. 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 Mm.
But it
True, true,
doesn't
true,
have any lid on telling that okay, these guys should be given citizenship. That's entirely up to the state. State, I mean legislator.
true,
So in
true.
that case, I don't think it has any legal what you call violation. And I had that Chandrachud, Abhinav Chandrachud telling that like why Jews are not given citizenship and why atheists are not given citizenship. First of all, there statistically there is only one Jew in Pakistan, as far as I know. So
Uh,
I don't think it is also true. But these are like these decisions are based on constitutional morality.
mm.
It doesn't like apply
Okay.
to our morality. Like we cannot say the personal morality should apply to this thing. Like
True, true,
yeah,
true,
Jews
true.
are prosecuted minority. That is not debated. But when it's come to the specific context, there is a
Mm.
certain distribution of population there, and there is certain trend in the distribution of population that we see from 1947 to today. So
Mm.
based on trend, we deduce these points and say that these are the
Jew,
minorities.
Jews aren't included. I think they are
Jews
included,
aren't
na, in
included.
the. No, no, they are included, yeah.
Only Hindus and Christians, right?
Nah,
Doesn't
nah.
mention.
You're talking about CAA, na?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wait, I'm sharing my screen.
Hmm.
See, the only religion omitted is. Can you see?
No, no, no.
Enable the screen sharing option.
Illegal migrants eligible for Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, Jain, Parsi, and Christian.
Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, Jain,
Buddhist,
Parsi, or
Jain, Parsi, and
community from
Christian.
Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and
And
Pakistan.
Pakistan. That's it. They didn't mention Jews
Hmm.
because there are no Jews. And also, he mentioned other things like,
Acha, you saying okay, okay, understood, understood, okay.
and
Ah,
also like he mentioned like, why don't you consider Ahmadiyas or other sects of Muslims as prosecuted minority?
hmm.
For that case, the Indian government doesn't differentiate between Ahmadiyya Muslims or any other Muslims. They all follow same.
Hmm.
For in Indian constitution, they are same. By
Hmm.
accepting that they are prosecuted, we are accepting the legislation of Pakistan. Are telling that okay, these are prosecuted people according to us. Means the categories will come. Some will say
Hmm.
Barelvis prosecute Deobandis and this kind of stuff. In every population, there will be groups, and one group will be prosecuting other. That is common in entire human history.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So by going that, I don't think like how can someone he's going to probably be the Supreme Court Chief Justice Abhinav Chandrachud
Someday, yeah.
someday
To have
because it
already
is
been.
it is Supreme Court in the kingdom.
It's in
It's
his
not
family.
a
Ah.
constitutional thing. No, if from starting onwards from 1947, you can see there are certain set of families who will become Supreme Court justices, Chief Justices. It is
Okay.
it is
Nee,
much more
but
rigid than what you call Congress or BJP.
true, but also if you see someone like what's his name, Dhananjay Chandrachud, na, be something. So
Hmm.
if you look at like, it's not just that they are in positions of power; they have dedicated their lives to it also. Because
Yeah,
as such, I think
and also
it
like we can
doesn't.
say they are in a bubble.
They are in a bubble, but also see if you compare the salaries. I
Hmm.
looked up. So like in
Those are
USA,
minuscule.
basic. No, they get a shit ton of money compared to that in India. I'll tell you.
Compared to that in
So
India, yeah.
So I did not know. So in one of the interviews, Chandrachud said that we they deal with in U.S. Supreme Court they deal with some 180 cases in 1 year,
Hmm.
and that too they handpick,
Hmm.
right? And that too they serve like some 80 days or 90 days in the
Hmm.
entire year. I
Hmm.
was like, it can't be this simple, like whatever. So then I looked up. So they have a different system in USA. They
Yeah,
have like
in
federal
US,
courts.
in Supreme only cases that go to Supreme Court are constitutional cases. Not every
Exactly.
nitpicky case will
No,
go to Supreme Court.
there are Supreme Courts in every state.
Ah, the,
Every state has a Supreme Court.
uh,
So basically, here in India, the governance is federal and state. There, the structure is federal individually. Like so, for example, like you
because
said,
state also
that the
has some
cases,
laws which sometimes contradicts with
ha,
the national
different,
law.
true.
Like for
So
example,
that
gun
there
laws.
the like
Like gun laws, like Texas have very liberal gun laws. Whereas if you go to Chicago
gun
and these
laws. Okay,
places,
ha,
the gun laws are very restricted. But on the national
acha.
level, they have few restrictions on the gun laws, which will not be followed by
Mm-hmm.
Texas.
True.
So like that.
No, so there they have so even I was confused initially because I saw like what he said was correct that the Supreme Court there handles very few cases, right? And you can get like the audio transcription and written transcripts of each of them, each of these
Mm.
cases. But again, these cases are against like uh, states in conflict
States,
with each other or
uh,
something related to
constitutional
U.S.
cases or
national
something like
security,
that. Fundamental,
constitutional cases, right?
fundamental rights.
But the individual Supreme Court. So, for example, Texas or somewhere. I think I looked up one of the state like Supreme Court. There, the individual salary is roughly like 2,000 plus, like 200,000 plus per year,
Per year.
which is like 18 to 19 crores if you convert directly.
200 plus means it was 2 crores almost.
No, no, I'm saying thousand. So like the average
200,000,
salary,
200,000 means for one.
200,000. Yeah,
200,000 means it was like 1.6 crore. Yeah.
no, 18 crores, na
No.
200,000.
See, 1 rupee is 80 roughly.
200,000 or something. Let me check.
200K is not
Uh,
18 crores, definitely. I know engineers who get
eh,
200K.
but still, that salary is very
Salary
appreciable
is huge.
because there are like
1.6
10
crores
or
only.
15 lawyers get. Wait, 200 crores or something. Uh, State Supreme Court.
200K dollars in rupees, you type that, it will show.
अरे नहीं, but I understood, but I was looking at the salaries.
Salaries would be okay, okay. That one, let's see.
Salaries.
Around 200K.
2 point. Okay, 240K.
But that is, see, on the level of American,
Okay, 2 crores. 2
uh,
crores, sorry. Huh?
on the level of American, that is also normal only. It's like an engineer can get 200K, a senior engineer basically. Here also it was same only, a
True.
senior engineer. It was a level of
Nee,
the
I
that level only. When you compare like Americans to Americans and Indians to Indians.
No, I think the salaries are drastically less. Supreme Court judge salaries.
India.
2,50,000
2
per
lakh
month.
50,000.
Mm, Chief Justice of
Basically
India.
IT package. CSC IT package.
Okay. Kind of, but like comparatively, there are fewer judges and fewer judges practicing, because there they have Supreme Court in every state.
It's not just fewer judges, but also the quality of judges. Like if you see Indian judges talking, right? They
Mm.
mostly seem like an activist. They don't talk about
Mm.
constitutional morality, like fundamental rights, which has to be protected, which will not come under this, and constitutional arguments. But when you
Mm.
see USA, like any, like for example, who's that recently died? Who is that judge name?
No idea.
Ginsburg, some Ginsburg,
Mm-hmm.
Ruth Ginsburg, and first black justice, who is that?
Acha.
Chief, there may Kavanaugh, Brett Kavanaugh. There was a huge case in
Ah,
2018.
Brett Kavanaugh.
Brett Kavanaugh and
Understood.
first Chief
Is
Justice.
his behavior in college, right?
College. That was like very shady case, but it went all the way.
Yes, Brett Kavanaugh.
John Robertson. There's other judges like they give actively give interviews. It's not like in India every judge will be shield and they won't give like interviews. Like they actively give interviews, and if you listen to them speaking, they talk about constitutional, nothing more. They talk about constitution, morality, history of constitution, like how the arguments are made through the centuries in American
So like
history,
jurisprudence.
jurisprudence, and these kind of things.
Hmm.
Uh, and also like their what you call their intellects looks like in another different level. Like for example, you see, um, is that guy? There's one professor in Harvard who is like, oh my god, I'm forgetting names. Who's that guy? He probably. I'll tell you it. Professor Harvard. Law. Alan Dershowitz. Look at his
Okay.
arguments, Alan Dershowitz. He don't speak of like general topics like social justice and poverty and this kind
Hmm.
of. He's talk about specific issues only. Like for example,
Hmm.
gun ownership, or for example, that trial happened for Trump, right? Like indictment
Hmm.
trial. He talks
Hmm.
about
Hmm.
specific indictment trials only. And if you look at their conversation, they follow a logical path. When you look at the jurisprudence of India, like the district judge will give some judgment, high court judge will give some judgment, and Supreme Court will be an entirely different judgment.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like there will not even be correlation,
Hmm. Hmm.
even though they are putting same facts only. And another thing about American justice was like, let's say there was a lower district level um, court, right? If you want to appeal to the high court, you cannot put new evidence also. Like evidence that is
Achha.
submitted to district court is that's the one that will seal. And based on that
In
evidence
US.
only, the higher courts have to give judgment. But whereas in India, like every time you go one level up, they allow you to give new evidence,
New one.
which again has to be examined by the judge only. Like the entire thing that already was examined by someone should also be examined by this
Hmm.
guy. So they don't
Hmm.
even believe in their own competence.
No, I don't think that is necessarily the case. It's also about the culture. Like if you see in US, like I think they have a way, like the way they argue in court is each of the person gets, designated time to talk, right?
Hmm.
It's like monologue, and then the other party responds and this and that. But
Hmm.
in India, if you see any of the court assessments, even in Supreme Court, there is always back and forth,
Like fight
right? No, but that is part of our culture. It's not
culture.
just like,
Yeah, that's a.
yeah, we yeah, cross examination and arguing, counter arguing is part of our culture. I don't think that is necessarily correct, but because see, I have seen a few judgments where they have held the, you know the issue that is more pertinent to them is whether this how this affects the court or the
Hmm.
impression of the court
Hmm.
compared to how does this affect the average citizen.
Integrity of the
So
court,
like,
basically.
yeah, but this is again, these are the court cases of 20 or plus so years.
Hmm.
So for example, this Arundhati Roy case, right?
Hmm.
I was actually interested in like what actually happened. So she was
Hmm.
part of this Narmada Bachao Andolan in
Ah.
97 or 99, and there were three people: Prashant Bhushan, her, and then one some lady who was a journalist,
Hmm.
right? So they had filed a writ petition against this. Basically, they said some of
Just give me a
the,
minute. Just give me a minute. I'll
yeah,
close that one.
huh, okay, okay, yeah.
Hmm.
I think it was a suo motu petition where they argued that these people, they did not let some of the judges and some of the lawyers
It was under
get out
UAPA,
of
right?
the.
UAPA?
No, this is much older, much older. I think
No, no. The
97.
97. The law was there. UAPA was there in different name, sedition laws or something.
So the what they argued was, so basically, I actually, so whenever they file a petition like this, like there were three defendants. Uh, she argued like actually I read her statement what she said.
Mm.
So basically, she said things like, the court has better things to do than, this is the third or fourth time I have been asked to write a response on my conduct and this and that, whatever.
Mm.
So I think at the end of it, they fined her some 1,000 rupees or something and jailed her for 1 day, right?
Mm.
So the issue that appealed to me was, see, they were not concerned about what is right or wrong. They knew that she wasn't in the wrong,
Mm.
but because she was an influential writer at that time, and obviously, like, she was asked to talk about these things in India.
Just to create
Anyway,
inconvenience.
yeah, but you also have to look at, like, from the point of view of her, right? Like,
Mm.
if someone goes abroad, and these are the only issues that people ask you to talk about,
Mm.
they don't ask you about anything good that is going on in India. They want to look at the bad stuff, right?
Mm.
So she too doesn't have an option. She's talking about these things. Yeah, so basically they were concerned about, like, this paints the Supreme Court in a bad light, which is why they fined her, and this kind of
It
thing.
was contempt of court case only.
Contempt of court, yes, that
Since
was the issue.
staged. Yeah.
But the
Yeah, but
argument they used was, this paints the Supreme Court in a bad light. This is something that struck out to me
that
was,
see, if an individual citizen can affect Supreme Court, so be it.
uh,
So be it. If it was so fragile, means it
exactly.
should be broken.
Because again, this is something that, especially in these days of social media, you can't really say, like, someone like, let's say, Kariminati, or people who aren't necessarily aren't necessarily educated, or in a
See,
higher up in a
see,
social hierarchy.
the term that like it will like damage the integrity of court. This is a very colonial thing. Like it's like kings and these kind of
Hmm.
things.
True,
You see, public
true.
institutions, it is not like their integrity or something. It's just it's a process.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in colonial and kingdom settings, now then only this integrity,
True.
honor, and everything will come. See,
True.
these UAPA
Agree.
acts, like the contempt of court and these things, it was specifically implemented in India by the Britishers in order to
Mm.
make sure that there are no disturbances in the Indian society. It's not
True.
to give us law or something. It's just to make sure
True,
that
that I
there will be no
agree.
disturbances and their business will go by their like in the undisturbed fashion. Like I told you once, right? Like in see in 1857 revolt,
Mm.
I'm just telling you how this last came by. In 1857 revolt, even though textbooks may write like the soldiers are fighting against the Britishers, but the Britishers
Mm.
always saw that as a Muslim revolt against the Britishers.
Mm.
The reason they consider it was because the soldiers try to install the Mughal emperor as the emperor of India, which is like
Okay.
installing the district collector as the president of India, because the
Mm.
Mughals only control a part of Delhi only. Awadh was already controlled by Nawad or some king, and Bengal, that part was controlled by Sirajuddaulah, and northwest province was controlled by Sikh Empire, and the almost entire central India and South India was controlled by Marathas.
Mm.
So their point was, why, in spite of having these many powerful emperors which span for such a huge landmass, they are choosing the Mughal emperor. For that, they said like this is definitely a revolt against Britishers by the back then rulers who are Muslims, like who want to restore that Mughal empire.
Mm.
In order to support, like in order to increase their paranoia, if you go to Delhi, there was a madrasa named Alai Rahmatiya, which was founded by uh, Shah Walilahi Dehlavi. See, it's just a. I'll tell you a brief history. Mughals always consider themselves of Turks. Turks are who
Mm.
people who descended from the Central Asian steppes.
Mm.
They always consider their home as
Ottoman
Turkic
Empire.
home only. They never consider
Mm.
India as something that should be emulated. That's why
Mm.
their language is also Persian.
Mm.
When you cannot question the emperor when it is in peak. Like our Akbar, the empire was like very big. Even during Aurangzeb, it was very big. But there is always a section in the Turkic migration also who consider that this is a bad way of following Islam. So they want it to be more purer form of Islam. During Akbar time also, there is a scholar named Sher Hindi, who wrote opposing Akbar's kind of liberal policies towards India because he want to
Mm.
go more fundamental. But because Akbar is already a powerful king, he cannot question that. If he is a weak king,
Mm.
then he can do anything. But when he is so powerful, then you cannot question his actions. So when Mughal
Mm.
Empire fell, which is like after Aurangzeb, these these what you call forces came back to restore the empire, telling
Mm.
that because of their Turkic rules, uh, empire fell. Otherwise, it would have been held strong if they follow the teachings that we are doing. That's where Dehlavi comes into picture. Dehlavi is ca- proclaims himself as 16th descendant of the Arab invader.
Mm.
He proposed that like all the Turkic things that are followed, they are not allowed in Islam, and we should follow to the like more to the what you call purer form of Islam that is coming from Arabia. That's where these
Mm.
things come, where you should read Quran in only Arabic and these kind of things.
Mm. Mm.
So he want to establish an empire in Northwest province, which is
Mm.
present day Sikh empire, for which he
Uh,
raised a few armies, but it was crushed by Raja Ranjit Singh. Like the Sikh empire was powerful
mm.
back then, so they crushed it. But
Mm.
the idea followed, and one of his followers named Barelvi,
Mm.
Shahid Ahmad Barelvi, he actually raised like almost 1 lakh soldiers in Northwest province,
Mm.
which became a big nuisance for Sikh empire. And I think it was Raja Ranjit Singh who fought against him, and his son Pratap Singh defeated him.
Okay, you're talking about Anglo-Sikh wars.
No, no, no.
There were two.
Anglo,
They,
what you
because there
call?
was a lot of infighting in them also.
No, no.
In
Anglo-Sikh
Anglo-Sikh
was
wars,
didn't start. They started only, I think, in 1830s or
18.
somewhere around.
Actually, you're
I'm talking
talking before that.
even before, when there was like rebellions in
Acha.
the Sikh Empire.
Mm.
So after Barelvi, that's why you see in when Barelvi started his campaign from Balakot. That's why you see even today, Pakistan, Balakot is the hub of terrorism. Like when Air Force attacked, like they attacked Balakot only.
Mm.
So it got slowly.
I haven't read upon the Muslim, like, what do you say? Muslim influence or like Mughal influence in India. I think I remember uh, this Lodi dynasty and all. That is all I remember. Like
That was way old.
that
Like
that was like 1500 something or
no,
1600
no,
something
it
when
was
they were.
1200. 1500 was Babur already.
No. There was like these 100 years of so like an empire existed for 100 years. I think Lodi,
Uh,
that empire
those
existed for
Delhi
100 years,
sultanates are
and
very small empires, like they are 50 years long. That's it. Mughal was the longest one, I guess. Mughal was the longest one.
yes,
So
I
what
haven't
happened?
read.
So
So for I so what books have you referred or what material have you referred for this?
I uh, there is one historian named Ayesha Jalil from Pakistan who wrote this book,
Acha,
Partisans of Allah.
acha,
I read two perspectives, Pakistan and Indian perspective, R.J. Mujamdar
acha.
and Sitaram Goyal.
Majumdar, yes, I have heard his name. He's
Mujamdar
a
and Sitaram
famous
Goyal.
historian.
They
Because
both talk
see,
of the same thing only.
have you heard of this? Have you heard of this book called The Wonder That Was India?
No, no, no. Who is the author?
It's a very famous book, A.I. Basham. I think
Uh,
I've told of it earlier. So
Wonders. That was India.
The Wonder That Was India.
Yeah.
So Basham was, I think, an Irish or a Scotsman,
Mm.
like either from Ireland or Scotland. I'm not sure. This guy, he never came to India, but from all the second-hand sources that he could gather, he
Yeah,
studied some like over
Harappan
100
Mohenjo-daro
sources.
or something. He wrote about that.
Then he has written like before the arrival of Mughals, complete
Mm.
history of India until the arrival of Mughals. It's a very like it paints it in a very neutral way and also gives you a lot of details. Like if you read the first page in just one paragraph, he summarizes how we got the name India,
Mm.
like Jambudweep and then Sindhu and Hindu, etc. The
Mm.
thing is, there is a historian named A. Rizvi.
Mm.
He has written a second part to it called After the Arrival of Mughals,
Uh,
right? So I had actually thought of reading it, but there is another historian and journalist called Shuri, Arun Shuri. He
Arun
has
Shouria, I
heavily
know.
criticized him. He has heavily criticized him,
For
Rizvi, like Rizvi and this another Romila Thapar.
uh,
So they have a very biased perspective of history, and they have written things in such a manner.
no,
And
the
like
Arun Shouria, I heard his speeches also. Yeah,
Arun Shori is a famous journalist,
famous
and
journalist. Yeah.
his book, yeah, he has written several books. There's a book on missionaries, how the
Mm.
missionaries, perpetuated their basically the religion and Mormonism in disguise of social welfare.
Mm.
There is one. This is a famous book. Then there is a book called Eminent Historians. I think I read part of it. So Eminent Historians, it talks about, it gives you several examples, especially from like history textbooks.
Where
Let's
they
say in
manipulate
NCRT.
and
Yeah, so they give you one line of the entire paragraph. So that
yeah,
changes
that
the
thing that
complete
I'm
context of.
saying, na, like the
Hmm,
Mughals always consider themselves Turkic. Like I have
hmm,
read so many books where they say like the Mughals always are like they are Indian, they are proud of their Indianness. Like it was never true. The Mughals didn't
hmm,
write it. After the Mughals historian didn't write it. Even the people inside the Mughals code didn't write it.
hmm.
Like where are they getting
True.
these sources from? Like for example, I'll
Hmm,
tell you. For example, the language Persian.
hmm,
They didn't even adopt Urdu, which is an Indian origin language, because it has so much Hindi influence.
Hindi influence.
They
True.
always consider Persian to be some higher form of
Superior. So
superior
that is, I
language.
think that is true of every civilization. If you see, like even our like the Aryan thing, the Brahmanical thing that they
Uh,
talk about, which is again 2,000 years old. Because if you look at it historically, even so, a lot of people they talk of it as if it existed some 500, 600 years ago. This thing was
they
done
don't
in,
even know whether it is invasion, migration, or just assimilation.
no,
They
whether
know
it is
there,
invasion.
there is a huge gene replacement. That is for sure. There is a large gene replacement in
Hmm,
Indian genes when it's come to like 2500 BC. From
hmm,
that,
hmm.
they are extrapolating like there might be these kind of things. No, it is not true. Like for
See,
example,
not
I'll tell
to 20.
you.
We don't need to go that far to 2500 BC. I'm saying like let's say 400 BC, or like even if you consider zero CE,
Hmm.
because after that there was influence of Buddhism, right?
Even before zero
And the
C, there
whole,
is a lot of influence.
yeah, but I'm
Uh,
saying that was the time where you see like what was the time of Buddha? It was somewhere like
three
minus
hundred BC,
400 BC.
300 BC.
300, 400 BC.
Hmm.
So ever since then, there has been major influence of Buddhism.
Hmm.
So even for example, Jainism and a lot of cultures, like say Kannada culture was heavily influenced.
Hmm.
Uh,
By Jainism.
Maharashtra,
Yeah, I was
so
really
these
really
are all
shocked to see like the most important Jain sites are in Karnataka.
exactly
Uh,
because again this is a mix. There's a lot of thing because I think how do I say,
no,
the way
even
I see it
one
is.
thing even surprised me. My uncle once
Hmm,
told like there was this Ashoka Stupa near Kalyandurgam, which is like 50 kilometers away from my hometown. I was really shocked. Like I never saw our area included in the Ashoka's empire. I was like,
hmm,
this might be some other thing. I don't believe you. He said like,
uh,
no way. He said like,
hmm,
come on, one Sunday you come to me. We will go
I'll
there.
show
We
you.
will see. I went. It was an Ashoka this thing only. Like it was 300 BC. Like I was
Hmm,
thinking, I've seen in maps like Ashoka never, like the Maurya dynasty never came here. Like how come this be?
hmm,
They said like, see, Maurya's territorial control is not Maurya's territorial conquer ended almost like northern Maharashtra and these place of things, but its
hmm,
influence reached all the way up to India and even down also Sri Lanka and these places because
True.
most of the empires who were in South or in Sri Lanka consider Maurya Empire to be a mothership.
Hmm,
It's like how NATO countries consider America to be.
hmm, hmm, hmm,
It is not their country, but they follow, they emulate those things.
hmm.
So one time, maybe some king asked Ashoka to build these things in like a
Possibly,
uh,
possibly.
like I
So
never thought
I
like
haven't.
I did my mind was this line is drawn and till there
Hmm.
only there will be influence. After that, there will be another empire, just like European
Uh,
empires.
the argument I was trying to make is a lot of these things that you see na, the like for example the Varna system and like you had a lot of Dalits and these kind of people.
Hmm.
all these situations existed because of a fight between Brahminism and Buddhism.
Hmm.
So, like after a point, for the longest time, Brahminism was unchallenged. See,
Even
what happens
vegetarianism
is
they talk about, right?
exactly,
It comes from
exactly.
Jains. It's not from Hinduism.
Exactly, exactly. So basically, because of that, so prior to that, like individual kingdoms, they were happy with whatever they had.
Hmm.
Like this thing was uh, undisputed. But
Hmm.
then after a point, people wanted something different. They wanted a different culture which adhered
Just,
to the.
just give me a minute. Like
Uh,
only 2 minutes are left.
uh,
We'll record again. Like I'll start another meeting and we'll record.
okay,
I'm
okay.
just saying like only 2 minutes are left. Do you want any final words about this?
What
Yeah,
are we talking about? We
we are
started
talking
with
about
CA and
uh,
CA.
vegetarianism, Jains, Buddhism.
Yeah, I think what is necessary is we study each of these parts of our history
As
and
individual.
then come to, yeah,
Uh,
before we get into fights about, oh, these guys did this, these guys did this.
uh,
Because in isolation, like none of these religions have existed in isolation. They
they,
have been in continuity, and we have to study it with relevance to that. Otherwise anyone can come and
and
change
also
the perspective.
they say like the rules are written and everyone will follow the rule. We don't follow the
Hmm.
rule now. How do you expect them to follow it? Like there will be
Exactly,
some middle ground between the book and the thing that we follow. The constitution is
exactly.
there. We don't follow everything perfectly. There will be middle
Space for
ground.
implementation. Yeah.
Uh, so that's it's like sometimes I think like why don't they consider this scenario? Like for example, I've seen very few people explaining the economies of Maurya Empire. Like economy is very important, right? That's how
Mm,
they run an
mm,
empire. Whether
mm,
we even in the India will be economy is very important part. You cannot separate economy and the empire. They
mm,
both they both should coexist. One will affect the other.
mm.
But I
True.
don't see people talking about it. They say that oh, this stupa was written. There are rules on that stupa, so everyone followed it. Even the Indian state now with so much police power cannot enforce those rules. How do you expect the Maurya state to do that? There will be local traditions, and from that the
Again,
they'll
I
synthesize some
think,
rule. Like for example,
again, I think
uh,
it's less of. Also, I think, see, as a historian, who are the
it is
people who are
going
going
to
to
end. It
talk
is
about?
going to end. I'll start
We'll
another
wait for the
meeting.
second session.
I'll start another meeting. Yeah. Thank you, Chaitanya, for your.
Wait, give me a minute. I'll get some water. I'll be
Yeah,
back.
sure, sure.
1 minute.